This is Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis.
Final show of 2017, loaded up with great guests, a lot of stories to get into. This, of course, the unofficial halfway point of the NHL season, our second round of quarterly reports, and a busy program with a busy Sunday schedule in the NHL with 8 games on the go. Kristen Odland covers the Calgary Flames for Post Media. She will be here to talk Flames as they get set for a matchup with the Chicago Blackhawks. Our friend Josh Smith from ScoutingTheRefs.com with the latest ref report. A couple of questions, a couple of clarifications, and we can always use that when it comes to officiating in the National Hockey League. Allison Lucan covers the Columbus Blue Jackets for the Athletic Cleveland. The Columbus Blue Jackets hosting the Tampa Bay Lightning to close out 2017. Allison will give us a preview of that. Dane Mizutani covering the Minnesota Wild for the Pioneer Press will be with us in hour number 2. Josh Mackey covers the Pittsburgh Penguins for the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. It is the Pens in Detroit to take on the Red Wings later on this evening. And of course, it being Sunday means it's the Fantasy 5, hashtag Fantasy 5. And our friend Stephen Laidlaw, the managing editor of DauberHockey.com, here with the final Fantasy 5 for 2017. Yes, that will be here this on this busy couple of hours straight ahead. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles to follow us. And it wasn't a super busy Saturday with only a half a dozen games, but it's 8 today. It's the end of 2017. The final few days of the year kind of stir up and have you reflect on things a little bit from the previous 364. Everybody resolves to change at this time of year, and that should certainly be the case for a few teams in the NHL after an unusual and unexpected first half of the NHL season. I didn't find any real surprises from Saturday night. I fully expected the Boston Bruins would defeat the Ottawa Senators because the Sens have had trouble winning since they came back from Europe. Sens were playing the second of back-to-back games. Mike Condon in goal again. Craig Anderson is apparently dealing with something, and that's why Mike Condon got the start for the second straight game. And the Bruins steamrolled over the Ottawa Senators 5-0. Comments from players after the game just shaking their heads in disbelief. From Michael Stone, stupidity and frustration. We've gotten ourselves into terrible spots, and it has gone on way too long for the Ottawa Senators. Montreal lost for the 4th time. Florida won their 5th in a row. 2-0 was the final. No Shea Weber for the Habs. No goal scoring either. That has been pretty much their season. Nice little run for the Florida Panthers as of late, though. They have passed Montreal in the Atlantic Division. James Reimer continues to be the guy as well. The Washington Capitals defeat the New Jersey Devils. They take over top spot in the Metro. This is a learning process for New Jersey. Don't worry about it. Don't get too bent out of shape about it. They're still coming to grips with it, but they're a good team. Big night for Caps D-men as well. Carlson, Niskanen, and Christian Juice all had goals. St. Louis gets a victory over Carolina. It's the same kind of learning how to win situation for Carolina as it is with New Jersey as well. Tied it to into the third period. Who gets the next goal? St. Louis Blues. They know how to win games. Hang on for the victory. Nashville over Minnesota. The two teams split the home and home. Wild were winners Friday, and the Preds just rarely lose at home. The late game, LA Kings over the Vancouver Canucks, 4-3 is the final. Drew Doughty, who has been piling up the points lately, has the game-winning goal, gets caught out of position on an earlier marker by the Vancouver Canucks, makes up for it, has the game winner. Those were the games on Saturday night. As mentioned, it is a busy Sunday schedule. Toronto's at Vegas. People are trying to make a big deal that Toronto, the team isn't staying on the Vegas Strip. Oh my, yeah, what? They just figured this out, that there's other hotels in Vegas. You don't have to stay on the Strip. Give me a break. Arizona's at Anaheim. Tampa's at Columbus. Pittsburgh, Detroit. Winnipeg and Edmonton. San Jose and Dallas. New York Islanders at Colorado. And then Chicago at Calgary, the late game on the Sunday schedule. As mentioned, we did this at the end of the first quarter, so I kind of went through and reviewed teams and came up with a quick thumbnail sketch quarterly report from each of the 31 teams in the National Hockey League. We'll do the East in this hour. We will do the Western Conference in hour number 2. I just kind of went through the 4 divisions in order of where they were standing. It has changed somewhat since our first quarterly reports, but there's a few trends that we've started to see, a few things that we have seen develop over the second quarter. And then we'll begin with the Eastern Conference and the Metro Division with the Washington Capitals with a 24-13-3 record, have climbed from fourth in the division. After a win on Saturday, they have climbed up to the top. They were a team that was trying to figure things out at the start of the season, changes in personnel. They are a good team. They are a good team in a tough division. They may also be a little more battle-hardened when the playoffs arrive. And yes, I fully expect them to be in the playoffs and be a difficult team to knock out in those first couple of rounds and make their way through. New Jersey Devils sit second in the Metro Division. Hot start? Yeah, they were, and they kind of surprised a lot of people. Well, the hot start has continued. They did have a little bit of a slump near the end of the first 20 games, start of the next 20. They aren't afraid to make changes, as we've seen. Ray Shero knows how to maneuver a roster. They needed defensive help. They went out and got it by trading Adam Henrique for Sami Vatanen. They are no longer a surprise team. They are another good team to contend with in a very difficult Metropolitan Division. Columbus Blue Jackets are another good team. They are currently dealing with a number of significant injuries that will test them because of their depth. They are in the middle of the league in terms of number of goals scored on a per-game basis, but their power play has been awful, and it has been awful for a long time. 31st, worst in the league. They have to figure out how to score on the power play. They're also going to have to manage Sergei Bobrovsky in the second half of the season, I believe. He does let in some bad goals occasionally, and he is going to be relied on heavily once they get near the end of the year. New York Rangers made significant strides since the start of the season. They were shuffling lines. They were shuffling defense pairs. They were a work in progress. Things have worked out pretty well, and they have climbed up in the standings. Henrik Lundqvist has been very good. Rangers also dealing with some hurts right now. Jesper Fast is still out of the lineup. Chris Kreider is going to miss a significant amount of time, and that is going to have an impact on them. Fifth in the division, the New York Islanders. The stats say it all for this team. They can score a lot of goals, but they let in way too many goals. Goals against, they rank 30th in the NHL. Now, what happens with the Isles in the second half is going to be interesting. The arena deal is settled. Tavares is still gathering more information, but they let in too many goals. Does Gar Snow go out and get a goalie? That could be interesting. That's going to be an interesting dynamic to see how that plays out. Carolina Hurricanes, after a sluggish start, back in the fight. Scott Darling still isn't all that he can be. Cam Ward has helped out nicely in a supporting role. Darling's got to figure it out if Carolina is going to continue to climb, and a little more offense would help this team in supporting their goaltenders. They'll be better in the second half than they were in the first half. Pittsburgh Penguins, everybody's still shaking their head, far below expectations for the two-time defending Stanley Cup champs. A lot of hockey played, made some necessary offseason moves. I don't know if I like some of the moves that they've made and the players that they brought in. Ryan Reeves, Jamie Oleksiak, we'll see. Daniel Sprong has been called up. Play hockey. Don't focus on the physical. That's not your game. Don't worry about it. Philadelphia. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. An 8-game winning streak, a 10-game losing skid. They came in reverse order. But the defense continues to improve. They have good young talent. Brian Elliott's been good. Sean Couturier's having a great year, but he's still got a way to go. Let's jump over to the Atlantic Division, and the Tampa Bay Lightning at 27-8-2, best in the league. A healthy Steven Stamkos, Nikita Kucherov, and he have been sensational to watch. Andrei Vasilevsky continues to show why he is a number one goaltender. Mikhail Sergachev is awesome. Needs some work on the penalty kill. Maybe this is the area that Steve Yzerman looks to shore up as they get closer to the trade deadline. Boston Bruins, second in the Atlantic Division with a record of 21-10-6. They continue to climb the standings. They dealt with a whole bunch of injuries early on. They are getting healthier. In fact, David Krejci returned to the lineup for the Boston Bruins on Saturday night when they had the shutout victory over the Ottawa Senators. They have a lot of good young talent. We've been hearing about David Pasternak for a while now, but Danton Heinen has come in and scored some goals. Jake DeBrusk looks like a player. Charlie McAvoy is their number one of the future, and he is a really good defenseman. If you haven't watched the Bruins much and watched Charlie McAvoy enough, do so. You'll be delighted that you did. The future is sooner than people think for the Boston Bruins. They have been one of the big surprises this year for me. I did not think that we would see the Boston Bruins sitting second in the Atlantic Division at this point in the season. Toronto Maple Leafs are still a team figuring out how to reach their potential. They were a different team when Austin Matthews was out of the lineup. Oh, yeah, they won the first few games that he missed. But then when he went out of the lineup for the second time, then they sort of realized that maybe they aren't quite as good as some people have suggested or made them out to be, or said they're going for it to win the Stanley Cup this year. Slow your roll just a little bit. You're not there yet. Still need some defensive help. They are a team moving forward. That Patrick Marleau signing looks pretty good about now, too. Don't listen to the nonsense from the Toronto media people who try to pick on something every day. Whether it's Mike Babcock or he's not using a player correctly, or why is this player playing on the fourth line or the third line. Ignore all that noise. Mike Babcock, Brendan Shanahan, Lou Lamoriello, they know what they're doing in Toronto. Just ignore all the garbage around it. Mentioned that the Florida Panthers are on a good run right now. 17, 16, and 5 is what their record is after a 5-game winning streak. In a weak division, they've managed to climb up a little bit. It's taken time for the new coach to settle in, everybody to figure out his system. Roberto Luongo is out long-term. James Reimer is the guy. How much shelf life does Roberto Luongo have? I don't think James Reimer is the long-term solution. They need more good players. Let Dale Talon do what he's doing. He's going to have to figure out the goaltending long-term going forward. But they'll be okay in the long run. This year is the transition from the garbage year last year. Montreal Canadiens, 16, 19, and 4. The vision in GM Marc Bergevin's head does not match reality. Carey Price is a great goalie, but the rest of the roster, deeply flawed. Deeply flawed. Max Pacioretty, his name is being thrown around in trade talk as he has 1 goal in the last 21 games, didn't score at all in December. Jonathan Drouin is a good player, but he can't be the only offensive threat. Alex Galchenyuk has been mismanaged from the start. It's a mess. I'd suggest a coup to overthrow the Bergevin regime is necessary in Montreal. It's a mess. Detroit Red Wings, old roster of players with a few younger ones thrown in, some decent goaltending when they get it. The Wings are like an old restaurant that has never changed or updated its decor or its menu. It's great that you have your own way of doing things and that got you the reputation for success, but the market forces around you change. They don't stay the same. And the league is very different than it was a decade ago when you were a decent team. It's time to change. Ottawa has spiraled out of control. Kyle Turris trade, Matt Duchene coming in. They've won only 4 games since that Sweden trip. What's going on with Erik Karlsson? What's going on with the arena? Erik Karlsson is not the same player since he had surgery. The owner had a whole bunch of comments about contracts and ticket sales and stuff. None of that helps. This one is a mess. There's going to be salary shed before the deadline. They're going to save money, but don't fret. They need time to sort this out. This year is a write-off for Ottawa. It's not going to happen and come back. You are going to have to alter your roster. I don't think Guy Boucher is the problem, but he does wear out, and that will happen at some point. And one more in the Eastern Conference, the Buffalo Sabres. I didn't expect them to be as bad as they have been, and they shouldn't be. I think Jason Botterill's message of everybody but Eichel is available was good. I think that got people's attention. Moving out Matt Molson did the same thing. You've got to get out of this losing mentality, and that is hard. That is hard for a team that has lost for a long time. See the Edmonton Oilers as an example. It's not just the players. But Buffalo will get better. But that's a hard thing to shed, is that losing mentality, and they've had it for too long. Trying to get out of that. Jack Eichel on pace for better than 30 goals. Not bad. So there's the quick overview of the Eastern Conference. We'll have quarterly reports for the Western Conference coming up a little later on in the program as well. But a busy show to get to with lots to talk about, including the Calgary Flames matchup against the Hawks later tonight. Kristen Odlin will join us in the next segment. We'll touch on that. Josh Smith, a little ref report, #ref report with our friend Josh from scoutingtherest.com. Allison Lucan with the latest on the Columbus Blue Jackets as well. That's all coming up this hour. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. Back with more after the break.
Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now it's even easier to nominate your dog as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day. We do it every Saturday. Send us a photo on Twitter or now on Instagram with the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. We choose a winner every Saturday. That's simple. Now on Instagram or Twitter, send us the photo using the hashtag HU Dog of the Day, and your dog could be the one added to our gallery on the website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday. Cutting-edge design for manufacturing. Nova Product Design. Industrial design. Mechanical engineering and design. Nova Product Design provides experienced design for parts and assemblies, manufacturing, assembly, and serviceability. From plastic parts to sheet metal forming, mold and tool design, injection molding, and more. Nova Product Design. Visit novaproductdesign.com to learn more. So you had to get groceries, take your daughter to dance class, and a pipe burst in the kitchen. You missed Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. No problem. All of our shows are available as a podcast right after the show airs, so you can listen when life gets in the way of hearing us live. Subscribe through iTunes and get alerts as soon as the podcast is available, or go to our website, hockeyunfiltered.com, and listen. Plus, check out the other cool stuff, the Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis podcast. Subscribe now through iTunes.
Welcome back. It's the Sunday edition of Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. Final one for 2017. Oh, yeah. I think back to what's gone on over the last year. Pretty interesting times. We'll talk a little bit about that later on. A busy final program coming up. Stephen Laidlaw, of course, will be here as it's Sunday with our Fantasy 5, hashtag Fantasy 5. Help for you in your fantasy hockey pool. Some suggestions, players you might want to look at, players you might want to pick up for a little help in terms of scoring. Jason Mackey with us from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. We'll have the latest on the Penguins. Daniel Sprong has been called up. Maybe we'll have an indication of how he's going to be used in the lineup. Dane Mizutani with the latest on the Minnesota Wild, who just finished up a split of a home-and-home with the Nashville Predators. Allison Lucan coming up. We'll talk about the Columbus Blue Jackets. The Blue Jackets are at home to take on the Tampa Bay Lightning in one of 8 games on the schedule. Josh Smith from scoutingtherefs.com, all coming up with us on the program, and Kristen Odlin, who we are endeavoring to contact to get the latest on the Calgary Flames. Flames set to take on the Chicago Blackhawks in the latest starting game. That is a 9 p.m. Eastern time, 7 p.m. local time start for the Calgary Flames. A couple of interesting games on the schedule. As mentioned, there's the Columbus Blue Jackets that are hosting the Tampa Bay Lightning, and it's going to be there's a bunch of interesting games on the schedule. Toronto is in Vegas. Yes, there are people making this great big deal. Apparently, it's a significant story worthy of incredible attention that the Toronto Maple Leafs are not staying at a hotel on the Strip. Well, so what? So they figured it out. Is it really that big a deal? I don't know. It's not that difficult to get to the Strip if you're 20 minutes away. and you're a hockey player with reasonable means, you could get a cab, you could get an Uber, you could get a Lyft. It's not really that big a deal, is it, that they're not staying on the Strip? Oh, because there's nothing that happens in Las Vegas unless it's on the Strip, right? That's the only place that something might happen that you might need to stay away from because there's alcohol served or there's parties, or that's the only place it happens is on the Strip. Come on, give me a break. Whether you're staying on the Strip or not really isn't that big a deal, is it? But oh no, let's have a story about that. Let's make a poll. Should the Leafs be staying on the Strip or should they not be staying on the Strip? Relax. I'm interested to see what happens in the game because Toronto's kind of a high flying. They like to score offense team at times when they get going. Vegas has had a tremendous home record. It's an afternoon game too, which is interesting. For the Leafs, it's a little out of their time zone. It's an afternoon game, which is kind of an interesting one. Arizona's at Anaheim, which is also an afternoon game. 4 p.m. Eastern time start, 1 o'clock local time start. I haven't talked about this, but I did want to squeeze it in. I mentioned it a little bit on our little Saturday podcast, which airs on Wednesdays. They drop. They're available. You can stream them through our app, the Hockey Unfiltered app, available on our website. You can subscribe through iTunes as well. I mentioned it because it involves the Arizona Coyotes and someone who still, for some reason, is on their roster. And that would be Zach Rinaldo. The incident I'm talking about involves the Coyotes and the Colorado Avalanche that took place just before the Christmas break. There was the subsequent 6-game suspension to Zach Rinaldo. Then there's a lot of talk about, was it enough? Was it too much? Why is Rinaldo in the league at all? Who's to blame for this kind of thing, for him sucker punching Samuel Girard? Is Girard partially to blame because he skated by Zach Rinaldo after he leveled a Colorado Avalanche player? So I mentioned I did talk some about it, but they had not issued the suspension at the time. He was given 6 games. This is his 5th NHL suspension. He's been suspended in other leagues as well, and he seems to find his way to the bottom of the league. Hopefully he'll find his way out of the league at some point. Do I think 6 games is enough? No. He's a multiple offender, multiple suspension. Why is he in the league? I have no idea, because there is still too large an element that not only tolerates players of Zach Rinaldo's ilk, but caters to the lowest common denominator instead of pursuing a game and a league that puts greater emphasis on talent and on skill. That's why Zach Rinaldo is still in the league, because there's still too many that live in the past when there was a wild, wild west element to the league, and we haven't been able to extricate ourselves from that yet. There is a faction of the game that wants to impede progress. The NHL is trying to move to more of a skill game, not eliminating physical contact or play, but an emphasis on skill instead of hooligans. There is an element that is resistant to change and the advancement of talent. They would rather drag those down that have advanced skills and talent and choose to use it. They would rather drag them down than allow them to succeed. Don't fall into that category. The league is evolving for the better. Speed, skill are taking on a greater role. It does not mean the elimination of physical contact. You can have one along with the other. The game is changing faster than we could have imagined, and it's for the better, but there are still coaches, there are still general managers that will pursue a player of inferior skill if they have more physical power to obstruct another player, and that is their role. Another problem is the message that is given out when players like Zach Rinaldo do what they did a couple of days ago to Samuel Girard of the Colorado Avalanche. Yes, he did skate in his direction after the hit. He did not, in a menacing way, engage him. He did not cross-check him. He did not confront him by grabbing him in any way, shape, or form. But Zach Rinaldo, of course, sucker punched him. And the other problem is the message that broadcasters that cover the game are projecting. Not only tolerating this sort of thing, but apologizing for it and condoning it and promoting it. The so-called experts are anything but. They are fringe and marginal former players who barely were able to eke out an existence in the league for a short period of time and spent more time watching from the bench or in the press box, or backup goaltenders who did the same thing. Let's have some skilled, talented former players as analysts instead of these marginal, fringe, barely able to exist in the league, fringe players that are now the experts. And they're the ones who are teaching and promoting the game. That's another problem that needs to be solved. They're using their pulpit to say, oh, well, you know, Samuel Girard really should have expected to get popped, because that was one of the quotes. Oh, I can see why that happened. They go out of their way to apologize for and condone the actions of a player like Zach Rinaldo for punching Sam Girard in the face. It's unfortunate, but that's what happened with the Arizona Coyotes and their analysts on radio and television. And I get it that you work for the team and you can only be so critical before you hear about it. But those two guys that were working as analysts, I don't even want to say their names, for the Arizona Coyotes, and apologizing and bending over backwards and suggesting it's that this is the way it should be and this is the way it should have happened, and there's no reason I can understand why should he have been suspended. Give me a break. Give me a break. The least talented players are being used as experts, as analysts. They're the ones trying to explain and promote the game to fans. Isn't there something wrong with that picture? Shouldn't you have the best, most talented players who can illustrate the finer points and the finesse and the skill and the talent that's necessary to play it at a high and elite level? No. We'll put on some backup goaltender who played a handful of games, but you know what? He's kind of funny and he has a sense of humor and he says some funny things. That's who we'll put on. Or we'll put on the player who accumulated 5 times the number of penalty minutes as he did versus games played. That'll be our guy. That'll be our analyst. That's who we want to get on and promote and teach and help sell our game. How stupid is that? That's what needs a rethink. Oh, but he's got personality. He's good on TV or radio. Good talker. Right. Doesn't have anything to say, but he's a good talker. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, Todd at hockeyunfiltered.com is the email if you need more than 140 or 280 characters, whatever you've been allowed to give through Twitter. Lots to get to in the final program of 2017. Allison Lucan before the top of the hour with the latest on the Blue Jackets. Dane Mizutani with the latest on the Wild after their home and home with the Nashville Predators. Jason Mackey will preview the Wings and the Pittsburgh Penguins. And of course, hashtag Fantasy5. Stephen Laidlaw with this week's Fantasy 5. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. Back with more after the break.
So you had to get groceries, take your daughter to dance class, and a pipe burst in the kitchen. You missed Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. No problem. All of our shows are available as a podcast right after the show airs, so you can listen when life gets in the way of hearing us live. Subscribe through iTunes and get alerts as soon as the podcast is available, or go to our website, hockeyunfiltered.com, and listen. Plus, check out the other cool stuff. The Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis podcast. Subscribe now through iTunes. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Nova Product Design is designed for manufacturing. Nova Product Design can get the job done with mechanical and industrial design. Nova Product Design is also fully functional for laser cutting, water jet cutting, plating, coatings, and more. Nova Product Design, innovative design, and the latest technologies. Nova Product Design can design, build, and test any required types of prototypes and beta units. Visit NovaProductDesign.com. We're looking for your Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day nominations every Saturday. Now you can send them through Instagram. Use the hashtag #HUDogOfTheDay. Send us a photo of your dog on Twitter or Instagram to nominate them as the HU Dog of the Day. Include your name, the dog's name, and any other cool details you want. We choose a winner and add them to the Dog of the Day gallery on our website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday. Hashtag HU Dog of the Day.
Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. It's the Sunday edition here, Saturdays and Sundays, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, streaming live at hockeyunfiltered.com and on the Hockey Unfiltered app, powered by Primetime Radio. You can download the app now, free from the App Store. Busy program. Allison Lucan before the top of the hour with the latest on the Columbus Blue Jackets. Dane Mizutani with more on the Minnesota Wild. Jason Mackey with the latest on the Pens. And Stephen Laidlaw with the Fantasy 5, hashtag Fantasy 5. Pleased to welcome back for our final show of 2017, one of our friends who always gives us great info and enlightens people on the role of officials in the National Hockey League. The website is great. It's scoutingtherefs.com. You should be following him on Twitter at scoutingtherefs. And Josh Smith joins us with the latest. Josh, first off, Happy New Year. And I'm glad you're with us. Please confirm that there are no conspiracy theories the way Robin Lehner suggested by the Buffalo Sabres a couple of days ago. There are no conspiracy theories in the NHL offices.
No, not on the ice with the officials, not in the league offices. I know, goaltenders are an interesting group. As a former goaltender, I take no offense to that statement, but goaltenders definitely have their own opinions, and when they choose to speak out, well, I'll say Mr. Lehner was sure entertaining, but no, there's no conspiracy. The NHL and the officials don't hate your team. They don't love your team. They don't want to see a certain team win or lose. I thought it was funny that he thinks that they were conspiring against the Sabres because the Islanders are in a playoff position. That was probably the first time I've ever heard anyone think that the league wants to see the Islanders win. It's usually the Penguins or the Capitals or the Rangers, but no, pretty creative. But no, Mr. Lehner's, well, obviously it was unfounded, and then he had a little change of heart game later with a coach's challenge that went in his favor, and he supported the refs and said, "See, the refs did a good job. It's Toronto that they have to watch out for."
Yeah, exactly. But it does bring up a good, interesting point that is worthy of discussion for those that missed it or have forgotten. It was a goal that did cross the line. Robin Lehner thought he had made an outstanding glove save, and I thought he did too at first blush. But it turns out the puck did cross the line. It was in his glove, but it was clearly visible across the goal line, so it did count as a goal for the New York Islanders, who went on to win the game. Now, in this instance, the play was not blown dead immediately by the referees, but plays that occur like this in the NHL are looked at and monitored by hockey operations in Toronto, who keep an eye on the games as they are being played. Can you highlight it for us? What is the process that occurs when a play like this happens? So the play is made. Lehner thinks that he has made the save, and the play continues with the puck out in play because it was stopped by the officials afterwards.
Right. So in the past, I'd say prior to 2014, the league would review, but they'd wait until the next stoppage to pull the referees in and talk about what happened. They changed that a couple years back and gave hockey ops the ability, if they are 100% sure that the puck crossed the line and they know that there was a goal that went undetected on the ice, they can have the horn sound to stop play. And the idea is really to not have too much game go on. We were looking at the Islander-Sabres game. You're looking at the final minute of play, and it took a good 30 seconds until they stopped the action. But the idea is that if they know it's a goal and they know that when the whistle sounds, they're going to go back and wind the clock back to the time of the goal, let's not wait for a whistle when it could be 3-4 minutes. There could be penalties, which would definitely change the look and feel of the game, or possibly another goal being scored. And depending on who scored it, that could either be no difference, or it could be a huge difference if the opposing team scored a goal that was later called back because a goal was missed. So it's been about 3 years. Hockey Ops has only done it a handful of times, so fans and often broadcasters as well are caught off guard when the horn sounds to stop the action. But the idea is that if Hockey Ops knows that it's a goal, it's 100% a goal, let's stop play, let's make the call now before anything else happens in the game.
It's good for the safety of players too, because if the play continues, you don't know what might happen, as you mentioned, penalties or goals or other things being scored. And I think it's important to get the call right as quickly as possible before the game moves on too far. Josh Smith is with us from scoutingtherefs.com. At scoutingtherefs is how you follow him on Twitter. I want to ask you again, I know we've talked about this before, but I think it's worthy of mentioning and discussing again how the process of video review and challenges go for goaltender interference. After a play, there is a period of time that officials will allow the coaches on the bench to have a quick look at the monitors that are readily available to them on the bench, and then have them decide whether or not they are going to challenge a call for goaltender interference. They inform the referee that they wish to challenge the play. What's the next sequence of events that goes from there before, as the referee goes to the penalty box to start viewing the monitor?
So as the referee is getting the headset on and getting the monitor handed over, and both referees will be there to watch, with one referee normally taking the lead. Hockey Ops will queue up the video. They'll queue up all available angles of the video, and they'll facilitate the replay. So they'll say, here's the overhead view, here's the view from the side, here's the view from the reverse angle. They'll give the officials every one that they can possibly use to help make the call. When it comes to an offside call, Hockey Ops will weigh in, partially just in the decision-making process. They have a better view. They have larger screens. So they're included in the process. But when it comes to goaltender interference, that call is 100% made by the official on the ice. So Hockey Ops is more or less just running the video for the referees, and it's up to the referee to make the call on whether the new information presented to him by that video either confirms what he saw in real time, or if he sees something in that video that makes him feel differently. Maybe he sees that the defenseman pushed the guy into the goaltender, and that changes the complexion of the call. But it's entirely up to the official who made the original call.
And I wanted you to mention that point, because I hear a couple of times, I still hear, if I'm watching games or listening to games, that the call is being made in Toronto. That is incorrect. It is still in the hands of the officials on the ice to make the call for goaltender interference. And I think that is perhaps why there is a difficulty in having every ruling be exactly the same, or as consistent a standard as possible. I'm not saying it's bad, but I think that this is why it's difficult for people to understand that. Well, I still think there's a belief that that people watching at home or listening on the radio will say, "Oh, Toronto made that call," but it is the referees on the ice that make the calls.
Absolutely, and that's the whole point of replay is, from the official standpoint, is we want to make the call right, but we want to use the tools available to get the call right. And if an interpretation of a rule, as goaltender interference is one of the largest interpretation cases that we see on a regular basis, if it differs from official to official, it's still in that official's hands to make the call. And it's purely new video evidence that they're looking at. But if the referee from one game has a different standard than the other, you hope that they're close. You hope for sure that he maintains that standard throughout the game that he's officiating. But like you said, there's always going to be a difference from official to official. As much as the league strives for consistency and looks to hold these guys to the same standard, what everybody sees, how they interpret it on the fly, and what they believe constitutes goaltender interference is always going to change slightly. And we see it in penalty calls too. It's just you're not under the microscope that you are right, when you're picking a goaltender interference replay.
Right. That's exactly it. Josh Smith from scoutingtherefs.com with us. At scoutingtherefs is the Twitter handle to follow. And just to pursue the other side of that, as you mentioned, with offside calls, that is where the hockey operations have larger screens, a better view, and have a greater ability to make that call, because it is black and white. The play is either onside or offside, and that's just much easier for them to make. And there was a good example of it a couple of days ago with Taylor Hall, who was knocking the puck through the air for the New Jersey Devils, went in and scored, except he was offside. He put himself offside because he did not have control of the puck.
Right, and that's where you've got both sides of the coin there. You've got the linesman weighing in on, did he have control at that time? And hockey ops can say, well, this is the exact moment the puck crossed the line, and the officials can look at it and say, you know what, he didn't have control of the puck at that moment, or he preceded the puck into the zone, but he had control, he had possession. It's a good play. So you're looking at everybody coming together on that one. It's definitely a different approach than what we see on goaltender interference.
Now, with video review, and I know it's a touchy subject for some, there are still those that suggest, oh, we don't have it, we shouldn't use it, we should allow the human element to take a role. I don't see that. I disagree with it, and I think there might be more opportunities to use technology, whether it's video or otherwise, to help get the calls right. Is the next area, do you think, might be in terms of whether or not the puck has completely crossed the goal line to whether a goal is scored? Because we have difficulty now having visual evidence because of the size of goaltenders' equipment, and if there's a scramble and players in front. Might that be an area that we look at some sort of video or other technology to help the officials?
As far as technological improvements to the game go, number one on my Christmas list was puck tracking relative to the goal line. And you have it for the blue lines as well. If you can do it for the goal line, do it for the blue lines to know specifically, when that puck crossed the line. But I think when it comes to goals, that is the biggest opportunity to have a technological improvement help with the game. To know definitively that the entirety of the puck has crossed the line would save a lot of headaches, a lot of debates. We see situations going back to Lehner's play. You could see that the puck was over the line in his glove, but we've had plenty of times when the goalie's glove is turned or the camera's obscured or someone's in the way, and you can't definitively see that the puck's over the line. You can infer that it was, and it probably was, but there are so many situations where we can't see and understand 100% that puck was over the line. Soccer's done a great job with cameras to make it work, but they've got a lot more space and a lot larger of a ball. In hockey, I think the only way we're going to do it is tracking, because that puck is covered or blocked or under a pad or behind a glove. The only way we're going to get it is digitally through tracking. And we're not there yet, but I think from a league standpoint, everything that they've looked at with player tracking and all the other metrics, I think the biggest opportunity is to know the puck's over the line, the puck's not over the line. And hopefully that's something that they can solve for, because it's a challenge for everybody to really see the puck. We see whistles for when officials lose sight of the puck. Knowing whether or not it was over the line at a precise moment would be a huge win for everybody.
I'm not sure what the technology is, whether it's a combination of video and cameras or tracking with a chip somehow. I'm not sure if that would work, but would it in a sense work similar to the way the strike zone box does on TV for baseball games, where the puck pass, or in this case it would be the puck that passes through, and you can track it and find out if it is in the zone, but which would count it as a goal?
Yeah, I think the only way, and I know a lot of those, including baseball, rely on cameras and finely calibrated cameras to track where things are. I don't think cameras are an option for hockey because of the players, the pads, all the equipment there, and even pucks in gloves. So I think a chip in the puck is the only way to go. I think that's the only accurate way you're going to know where the puck is, despite bodies, gloves, pads, equipment over it. So I think that's the way the league hopefully is pursuing, because I think that's that would be the solution. Getting there, I know with the Fox Tracks puck from decades back, I know that was a puck cut in half, glued back together. It was expensive. Yeah. It was a challenge for them. So hopefully we've come quite a way since then as far as puck tracking. I know we're not ready for the league to implement it yet, but I'm hoping it's around the corner, because that'd be a nice win.
Yeah, that would be, it's the tricky part is making sure that you can track the entire puck. I mean, you can say put a little chip in the middle of it, but it doesn't track the entire puck. And I guess that's the biggest stumbling block we're going to have.
Right. And I think, not to get too technical, I'm looking at what we can do with our cell phones now, where you've got accelerometers, you've got gyroscopes in them. And if they can put that into the center of the puck, you'll know exactly where the puck is, what angle it's at. And then you'll have to do a quick calculation to say, center of the puck is at this point, at this angle, we know it's completely over the line. And there are people much smarter than I am who could figure that out pretty quickly, I think, as soon as they have the ability to embed that into the puck.
Oh, I like that. That's really good. And hey, one more quick one just before we go. Ian Walsh, he gets the A for Effort award from last night during the Boston and Ottawa game. Who he stumbled and fell and was on his keister sliding across the ice, but still had his arm up in the air to indicate there was a delayed penalty call. That shows, if nothing else, the dedication of all the officials that work so hard in the NHL.
Oh, absolutely. I don't know what Walsh was doing where he was. He looked like he was going in for the 2-on-1, but man, he stuck with it. That arm stayed up, and I commend him on that. That was a spectacular move. And if you haven't seen it, I think we tweeted it out earlier. We'll have a story up on it shortly.
Oh, look forward to it. Look forward to it. That's Josh Smith, our friend from scoutingtherefs.com. At scoutingtherefs is the Twitter handle that you should be following, and they'll have the Ian Walsh video and a story about it. Josh, great stuff as always, man. I really appreciate it. Happy New Year, and we'll do this again soon.
Thanks so much, Todd. Have a great New Year.
Thanks, Josh Smith from scoutingtherefs.com. If you haven't seen the play, it's worth it. It's worth investing the time. That was a great description from Josh. He was going in on the 2-on-1. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, Twitter and Instagram handles to follow us. A little Columbus Blue Jackets talk coming up next with Allison Lucan right after the break.
Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Look, we know it happens. Life gets in the way, and sometimes you can't catch the live edition of Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. But we've made it easy for you to catch up on the show you might have missed. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis is available as a podcast on iTunes, iHeartRadio, and Blog Talk Radio. You don't want to miss an episode. If you missed the live show, check out the podcast. Don't miss any shows. There's a test coming up later. Subscribe now. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Use the code Get the Savings. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis listeners save with Seat Giant and the promo code TODD. That's TODD at SeatGiant.com. Just log on to SeatGiant.com to find the best tickets to NHL games, concerts, or whatever you want and save. Use the promo code TODD. That's TODD when you check out and you save. Canadian listeners can save at SeatGiant.ca. That's SeatGiant.com and .ca. Cutting-edge design for manufacturing, Nova Product Design, industrial design, mechanical engineering and design. Nova Product Design provides experienced design for parts and assemblies, manufacturing, assembly, and serviceability. From plastic parts to sheet metal forming, mold and tool design, injection molding, and more. Nova Product Design. Visit novaproductdesign.com to learn more.
Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, Sunday edition, here Saturdays and Sundays, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, streaming live at hockeyunfiltered.com and on the Hockey Unfiltered app, powered by Primetime Radio. 8 games on the New Year's Eve Sunday schedule, including the Columbus Blue Jackets, who play host to the Tampa Bay Lightning. Allison Lucan covers the Jackets for the Athletic Cleveland. You can follow her on Twitter, at Allison L, and she joins us now. This is a tough test for Columbus this evening, Allison, with a bunch of injuries. Atkinson is out, Wenberg is still out, and you got the best team in the league coming into your building to look to try and hopefully start their road trip off in a good manner.
I tell you what, and thanks for having me, Todd. Happy New Year to you. It's going to be a big test for sure. This is a team that, as you mentioned, is not only struggling with the names that aren't going to be on the ice tonight, but there have been some mental challenges for this group, you know, going up 3-1 in Ottawa just a couple nights ago and then falling 5-3. This is a team that really needs to show the mental edge to their game, in addition to the skill side of the game, which they've been pretty strong at thus far. But this is a time for them to show they can hang in there, close things out, be dominant in a win, and not just hang on or give one up.
And that you mentioned the Ottawa game, and I wanted to ask about it because there's a couple of things that struck me in that game. First, you're against Ottawa, which is a team that has really struggled to find victories and find offense. A couple of goals go in against Sergei Bobrovsky that were certainly not goals that you would expect to see go in. And as you mentioned, a 3-1 lead, you're up by a couple of goals, but then it just doesn't seem to, you just didn't seem to find a way to close this one out, and you should have.
Yeah, it certainly is interesting, and Tortorella was very careful to say that while, you know, Bob did not have his best game by any means, that it wasn't all on him. There were two fluky goals. The second goal by Ottawa certainly seemed to feed a little bit of that mental shift that I mentioned earlier. But I think it's an interesting challenge. We focus so much on goals. We focus on Bobrovsky. I think what these injuries have done is really challenge this lineup in how they play defensively. You have Nick Foligno playing down the center. You have guys who aren't used to playing the minutes that they're playing down the middle of the ice there. There's a lot of different asks of a player in that position in terms of backing up your defenseman and preventing those chances against. And while we focus on goals, while we focus on goaltending, I think that's where the Jackets really need to shore up their play right now.
And I guess getting Zach Werenski back into the lineup will help for that. I mean, he's known for his offense, but he is also very much stronger defensively for the Columbus Blue Jackets as well.
Absolutely. You know, when he was out, you were missing two arguably top four defensemen this year, and him and Ryan Murray, who's been out the entire month of December. And we talked about with the centerman, that shifts everyone around in the lineup. Marcus Nudavaris stepped up, played with Seth Jones, played very well, but you don't have someone who can play those kind of minutes, play that kind of stand-up defense that Zach can play. And arguably when Zach is offensive, that's the best defense, right? So, you know, you don't have that weapon on the ice, and it gave teams an opportunity to jump there. Jones was amazing, as he's been all season, but he can't do it all on his own.
Allison Lucan is with us, covers the Columbus Blue Jackets for the Athletic Cleveland. Follow her on Twitter at Allison L. It's the Jackets and Tampa Bay Lightning in a New Year's Eve matchup. The number of players out of the lineup, I suspect, also puts a bit of pressure on other players, not just the others playing out of position that you mentioned, Nick Foligno being one of them, but a player like Pierre-Luc Dubois, who seemed to have made some steady progress this season moving forward. He seems to be getting better as the season moves along. I'm sure he's also feeling, to your point about the mental aspect of the game, he's also feeling, okay, guys are out. I gotta step up my game a little more.
Absolutely. You know, he's such an interesting player to me on the mental side, like you're mentioning. Nothing seems to faze this kid. We go talk to him after, you know, he has his first NHL shootout ever and his first shootout goal in his entire career. And he's literally just happy to be there. He's really rolling with the punches of what this season, what this league is presenting to him with remarkable composure. And I think that he has stepped up to this challenge. He is centering a line with Artemi Panarin, Josh Anderson. They are the line producing points for this team consistently. And it has been a real revelation, again, not just to see a guy like him play like he is playing on the ice, but playing with that mental attitude that he's bringing. He's stepping up to every challenge. I want to see him withhold a 82-game season. That's a different ask of any player in this league, but nothing but impressed with how he's standing up to what the team is asking of him.
So Pierre-Luc Dubois is centering the line. I don't think we expected that, but we expected some scoring from Artemi Panarin. He had some struggles earlier in the season. It seems to have sorted itself out. But Josh Anderson, I mean, it's still just, it's remarkable the production he is generating this season for Columbus.
It really is incredible. You know, that was, for those who remember those off-season kind of struggles from a contract perspective, that was part of the question, is what kind of player is Josh Anderson going to be? And he has really come back and shown that he is a big-time player in this league. He has married his size and his power with a level of skill that I think we saw flashes of last year, but hadn't seen as consistently as we're seeing it this year. He's the leading goal scorer, and he's just, what I like about him on that line too is I think he provides a nice contradiction to Panarin on the other side. So defense don't know what to do with them, right? Do you play to the shifty skill of a Panarin and let the power forward just storm down the other side and go right to the goal? Or do you play against Josh and let Panarin have all the ice time? So it's a wonderful weapon that the Jackets have, and it's really impressive to see what Josh did. I don't know if it's something he changed in his offseason or just the continued evolution of the player, but a great surprise for the Jackets roster.
Another player I want to ask you quickly about is Sonny Milano, who had a couple of goals the other day. He's been back and forth a couple of times to Cleveland and the American Hockey League. Maybe this is the time he's going to get it sorted out and get it figured out. I have seen the skill, and I'm just waiting for all the pieces of the puzzle to fit in together, because I think he's absolutely got the talent to play in the NHL, but it's been in fits and starts for him so far.
Absolutely, and I think the angle to watch there is really, and both coach and player have acknowledged this, is building up a bank of trust that Milano can have with Tortorella, that he's going to play the right way in all areas of the ice, not just when he has the puck. He has, I believe it's 3 goals in his last 2 games, and he's been exemplary in terms of an offensive side of play, but he just doesn't have that capital yet with Torts to get over. I think he's still hovering at like 10, 11 minutes max, even with these injuries kind of gutting the lineup. And Torts needs to trust him more to allow him to make the mistakes and stay on the ice. That's this last key. And I'm hopeful that if Sonny can really figure this out this time, as you mentioned, no one wants to see injury happen, but when it provides an opportunity, this is the window for Sonny to seize that opportunity for himself.
Yeah, I mean, he could find himself with a permanent spot in the lineup even after some of these injured players come back, correct?
Absolutely. I mean, if you remember, that was where he came in, just had 5 goals, right out of the gate when the season started, and was the team's leading goal scorer. So we know he can produce offensively. Again, it's just that level of trust, that sensing game situation, that playing responsibly with and without the puck. When he gets enough of that in the bank, as Torts and Sonny have said with Torts, I think we could see him do something really special.
It's like Robert De Niro says, the circle of trust. The circle of trust. There you go. Allison Lucan covering the Columbus Blue Jackets for The Athletic in Cleveland. At Allison L is how you follow her on Twitter. Great stuff as always, Allison. Appreciate it. Happy New Year to you as well. We'll talk again soon.
Thanks so much, Todd. Take care.
Thanks. Allison Lucan covering the Columbus Circle of Trust. Right? Okay. Volker, remember? Circle of trust. Yeah. And that's the thing with coaches. They have to be able to trust you that you're going to be able to go out on the ice and you're not going to make that mistake. And that's going to be the key. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports Twitter and Instagram handles to follow us. It's been a busy first hour, loaded up again in the second hour with guest Dane Mizutani will join us. We'll talk about the Minnesota Wild and their split of the home and home series with the Nashville Predators. Jason Mackey with the latest on the Pittsburgh Penguins. Pens in Detroit to take on the Red Wings. Anthony Mantha's not going to go tonight for the Detroit Red Wings, by the way. And Stephen Laidlaw with his final Fantasy 5 for 2017 coming up. Hashtag Fantasy 5, the latest for your fantasy hockey pool. A bit of help. 5 names, 5 players you might be able to acquire, maybe on waivers, maybe through trade, but it could be a little help for you in your fantasy hockey pool. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, back with more after the break.
There's special savings for Hockey Unfiltered listeners with our new ticket partner, Seat Giant. And Canadian fans can also purchase in Canadian dollars. Go to SeatGiant.ca, find the tickets you're looking for. Doesn't matter if it's NHL games, concerts, or any other event. You get a special discount with the promo code TODD. That's Todd with 2 D's. Just enter the code, get the discount, you save. That's simple. Save on your next ticket purchase with Hockey Unfiltered and Seat Giant. The best way to get set for the busy Saturday night of hockey is with Hockey Primetime. Beginning at 5 p.m. Eastern, host Connor McKenna whips you around the league for the latest stories and info leading up to the early game starts. Plus, he'll give his own spin on the biggest stories in the National Hockey League. Hockey Primetime with Connor McKenna. Sometimes serious, sometimes a little goofy, but always interesting. Listen live at hockeyprimetime.com, 5 p.m. Eastern every Saturday. Search engine optimization is the key to success for your online business. It can be the key to success for any business. 1-844-SEO-LEAD is the number to call to get your business at the top of all searches. An official partner of Google, they have the tools necessary to make your business the one people notice first. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now you can nominate your dog or any dog you love as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day through Instagram. Every Saturday, Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis will take your nominations for the Dog of the Day. Use the hashtag #HUDogoftheDay. Send us a photo with the dog on Twitter or Instagram to nominate your dog. We choose a winner at the end of the show, and your dog will be recognized in the HU Dog of the Day gallery on our website and Facebook page. Hashtag HU Dog of the Day. Creativity and innovation are the hallmarks of Nova product design. Whether it's mechanical or industrial, cutting-edge technology and a commitment to excellence make Nova product design the company to choose. Prototypes and beta units are a Nova product design specialty. Striving for revolutionary new ideas and methods keep Nova product design at the forefront of innovation. Visit novaproductdesign.com and learn more.
This is Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis.
Oh, we're enjoying today. It's fun. Good time. Final program of 2017. Looking forward to all the 2018 has to offer. 6 from Saturday. Full slate of Sunday games, including afternoon action. Good way to wrap up the year. Busy program as well. Dane Mizutani joining us from the Pioneer Press. We'll get the latest from the Minnesota Wild. Wild split their home and home this weekend with the Nashville Predators. Jason Mackey from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette with the latest on the Pittsburgh Penguins. They're in Detroit to take on the Red Wings, 1 of 8, as I mentioned, on the Sunday schedule. Also quickly mentioned Anthony Mantha will be out of the lineup tonight for the Detroit Red Wings. I didn't see why, but just that he would be out. Also, for the final time in 2017, the final Fantasy 5, hashtag Fantasy 5, help for you in your fantasy hockey pool. The managing editor of DauberHockey.com, Stephen Laidlaw, will be with us again at his regular time for this week's Fantasy 5. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles to follow us. We're streaming live at hockeyunfiltered.com and on the Hockey Unfiltered app, available for download free at the App Store, live on Facebook, a Periscope, and YouTube Live every Saturday and Sunday beginning at 11 Eastern. As we wrap up 2017, get set for exciting things to occur in 2018, we're looking forward to it. We'll reflect back a little bit on what's occurred in 2017. I don't like doing lists of this was the top 10 goals or the top 10 stories or stuff like that. I'm much more of a look forward person, or I try to be a look forward person than look back. Doesn't mean that you can't think back and enjoy good moments, even some difficult moments of days gone by. But I prefer to look forward with anticipation and excitement about what's ahead, as opposed to dwelling on what is the past. But there are a couple of reasons to be thankful and appreciative of all that's gone on in 2017. Half a dozen on Saturday, no real surprises. Bruins smoked the Ottawa Senators. Ryan Spooner has a couple of goals. Mike Condon was in goal again. Montreal lost for the 4th straight time. Florida rolled over them. Panthers on a bit of a roll now. Washington, New Jersey in a battle for a top spot in the Metro Division. It's the Capitals that come out on top. It's all right, New Jersey. Don't worry about it. You're okay. Back and forth. At this point in the season, you're in good shape. In a second, we'll do the quarterly report for our Western Conference teams. We had the Eastern Conference in the first hour. St. Louis over Carolina. Hurricanes are still an improving lot, figuring out how to win. St. Louis, they're an experienced veteran team with a lot of good players. They know how to win close games. They were tied going into the 3rd period. St. Louis finds a way to win. Preds rarely lose at home. They didn't on Saturday, and Minnesota and Nashville split their home-and-home series. LA Kings with a 4-3 victory over the Vancouver Canucks. The LA Kings, one of the surprises in the Western Conference. They are better than I expected them to be this year. And there's a few other surprises as well. as we go through the Western Conference. We're just about at the midpoint of the season. A couple of teams have hit 40 games. St. Louis has hit 41 games. They are officially at the halfway point of their season. And we did it after the first quarter. We will do it again now that we're at the midpoint, give or take a day. Our second quarterly reports. Eastern Conference was in the last hour. The Central Division of the Western Conference is where we will start this hour. Boy, is it competitive. The Nashville Predators up on top of the Central Division with a record of 23-10-5, the number 2 power play in the NHL. They have climbed to the top of the division. They picked up Kyle Turris. They got the depth at center that they needed. Ryan Ellis hasn't played a game yet. He's close. When he comes back, that's even more good news for the Nashville Predators. The area of concern, though, is with the injury to Philip Forsberg, who is out indefinitely with an injury, and there isn't much more than that being said. That is a concern. How long is he going to be out? How serious is this problem? And UC Saros is proving himself to be a very good, well, I don't want to call him a backup yet, because I think he's kind of evolving into taking on a larger role with the Nashville Predators. He is rounding into number 1 goaltender form. We could see more of a shared crease with the Nashville Predators moving forward from here. They are a good team. Winnipeg Jets, second in the Central, 22-11-6. They flirted with top spot in the division for a little while, held on to it. The solid goaltending we wondered about at the start of the season, it has arrived. And Connor Hellebuck and Kyle Connor, since his call-up, has been great. Mark Scheifele is going to miss a whole bunch of time, and that is an area of concern for the Winnipeg Jets. Could be problematic. Dustin Byfuglien is getting close. This is the team that Winnipeg Jets fans have been craving, the kind of team that they have been wanting and looking for and hoping for. They've been impatient about. It seems to be arriving now. There's enough depth, there's enough talent that they can withstand a little bit of an injury issue here and there. The Mark Scheifele one is hard. He's an underrated player for those that don't see a lot of Winnipeg. St. Louis sitting third in the Central. They're another team that has fought through all kinds of injuries. Good goaltending from Jake Allen. Braden Shen has been wonderful. Alex Steen is another underrated player. Jay Bouwmeester's been in and out of the lineup and back now. They're a good team. Dallas has improved significantly since our first quarter report. They're now sitting 4th in the division. Like some other teams in the league, they had a new coach, new system, new structure. Everybody needed time to figure it out. There was a whole bunch of line mixing up that was going on. It's getting sorted out. They are a tough team to play against at home. They have high expectations coming into the season. There were a lot of people predicting big things for the Dallas Stars, and it's taken a while to get there, but now they seem to be arriving, and I still think that there's another level up that they can go from this point, and that's what Ken Hitchcock is going to have to get out of his team. Minnesota Wild, like others in the division, have had to deal with a lot of injuries. Nino Niederreiter is still out. Zach Parise hasn't played yet, but he's getting close. Went down to the American Hockey League for that one-game conditioning stint. Devin Dubnyk missed some time as well. Minnesota's managed to somehow keep their noses above water, and they've started to move up a little bit now. They're starting to move in the right direction. Still lots of room for improvement, but they seem to be moving in the right direction. I mentioned a few weeks ago that I was worried about the Chicago Blackhawks. That hasn't gone away. It's still here. 18-14-5. That's not particularly good. If last year's first-round blowout wasn't acceptable for Stan Bowman, what's the first half of this season been like? Are they paying the price for winning those 3 cups? Corey Crawford's on IR with some sort of mysterious ailment. Artem Anisimov is out. Patrick Sharp has, well, been what I expected. It's the younger players that are going to have to take over some bigger roles for the Chicago Blackhawks. Nick Schmaltz, Alex DeBrincat's good, but they just need time to grow into their roles. Jonathan Taves, I don't know, that's a lot of money for a guy whose production doesn't seem to be matching the money. And the Colorado Avalanche are at the bottom of the Central Division, but I think that was pretty much expected. I think they're actually better than a lot of people expected. Last year was a complete write-off. It was a complete waste. But this year, they've taken some significant directions, or significant moves in the right direction. Joe Sakic, to my knowledge, still has not received any apologies from all of the so-called experts who ripped him time and time again for waiting to trade Matt Duchene. It worked out pretty well. He got a big haul of prospects and draft choices. Forget about last year. Don't even worry about it. Don't even think about it. Colorado looks to be making strides in the right direction. They've got some good young players on that team now. It'll take some time, but they are starting to move in the right direction. Jumping over to the Pacific as we continue our quarterly reports. Vegas Golden Knights, first place Pacific Division, a record of 25-9-2 entering play on December the 31st. They have defied doubters since they hit the ice. No big stars. I mean, they have some prominent players of well-known, but I don't know if that you would consider any of the players on their roster to be among the elite talents in the league. They had to go 5 goalies deep for a while. They kept winning. Best in the Pacific. Now, a couple of caveats. The schedule gets tougher for Vegas moving forward. When they get into February, when they get into March, their schedule gets really tough. The good thing is they have built themselves such a cushion that even if they drift down to a 500 level, they'll still be okay. The schedule is going to get tougher. I don't know how they're going to play out the trade deadline because I don't expect them to really fall out of playoff contention by the end of February. Is this a good thing in the long term? I mean, what happens if Vegas has a good season and then kind of takes a giant step back next year? How does that affect the market? Those are things that aren't really getting worried about right now. But as they're playing out on the ice, they're winning games. It's been a pretty cool story, and I think everybody's enjoying it right now. LA Kings, as I mentioned, one of the teams that have surprised me. They have been better than I expected them to be. They've shown more speed than I thought they had in their lineup. Bringing in some younger players has helped that. It's interesting how a team that is being allowed a little more offensive freedom than they were, certainly under Daryl Sutter, can be number 1 defensively. Number 1. Let the horses run a little. They'll be responsible in their own zone. If that's the way it is, look, here's the deal. Let you be a little more creative. Let you have a little more fun offensively. You just have to be responsible. Good for them. They're still waiting on Jeff Carter, too. He's a ways away, but that'll be a nice boost to their lineup when he comes back. San Jose Sharks at 20-11-4 is a team that has moved up nicely in the second quarter. Brett Burns finally managed to score a goal or two. Some bigger contributions from other players have helped. Younger players still need to do more for San Jose. For the Sharks to be considered a serious threat in the division, younger players need to do more as the season moves along. Anaheim is another team that's getting better as the year progresses. They have had so many injuries. They've had defensemen injured. Ryan Getzlaf has missed some time. Corey Perry's missed some time. Patrick Eaves, of course. Ryan Kessler just got into the lineup after off-season surgery, but they've muddled through. They've managed to keep moving forward, win a game here and there. Adam Henrique has been a nice addition. They are another team that should continue to move forward and move up in the standings as the season moves along. They're a team to watch in the second half. Calgary Flames, where would they be without the addition of Mike Smith in goal? He has saved their bacon on numerous occasions. The defense core they have on that team, they should be better. Forwards had struggles, scoring at times. How's that Jaromir Jagr signing working out for you? He's in, he's out, he's in, he's out. What's he at, 20 games now? I don't know. I'm not surprised the Flames are at 18-16-4 at this point. I'm not surprised. I think they are, and I think some of their fans are. I think they and others believe they were a better team than they actually were. Their provincial cousins, the Edmonton Oilers, well, they managed to win 4 games in a row leading up to the Christmas break. Hadn't won 3 in a row prior to that, and now they dropped back-to-back games. There is still, I think, a cloud of disbelief and wonder about what happened. What happened from last year when we were cruising along and everybody thought we were great and this was the team we expected? Players had great years. All players don't have great years every year. You still can't convince me that Milan Lucic is the right winger to have alongside of Connor McDavid. He can't keep up. Countless times I've watched the Edmonton Oilers and Connor McDavid is screaming towards the opposition goal and Milan Lucic is sucking wind trying to keep up and get into the play. It's not going to happen this year. You know what? Edmonton needs to do a reassess, shed some players, shed some assets, and get things back that will help them going forward. This season is over for Edmonton. It's time to look towards 18-19. Vancouver Canucks, I think they're actually better than most people figured. 2 games under 500 isn't terrible for a team that's transitioning. 16, 18, and 5, that's not terrible. All the injuries that they've had to deal with as well. Bo Horvat is out. Brock Besser has been, oh, what a breath of fresh air. Travis Green has done a nice job with the team. Sedins are handling their emeritus role very nicely. Brock Besser is a stud. He is a fun player to watch play. And finally, the Arizona Coyotes. I don't think the numbers surprise anyone. 9-26-5. They're not a good team. And there's bigger questions about Arizona as an organization. What is the future of the Coyotes? Need a building to play in. They got nothing cooking there. They've got a couple of good young players. That's fine. Rick Tocchet, well, I guess we'll see as a head coach. Is Antti Raanta good enough in goal? And until something happens, Oliver Ekman-Larsson is going to get asked every day about whether he's going to ask to be traded or he's going to leave as a free agent. There is a long way to go for this team. A long way to go for this team. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, Twitter and Instagram handles. We'll do quarterly reports again at the 3/4 point in the NHL season. Before the hour is out, Dane Mizutani coming up. We'll talk Minnesota Wild, Jason Mackey with the latest on the Penguins, and Stephen Laidlaw with the Fantasy 5 before the top of the hour as well. Hashtag Fantasy 5. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. Back with more after the break.
The best way to get set for the busy Saturday night of hockey is with Hockey Primetime. Beginning at 5 p.m. Eastern, host Connor McKenna whips you around the league for the latest stories and info leading up to the early game starts. Plus, he'll give his own spin on the biggest stories in the National Hockey League. Hockey Primetime with Connor McKenna. Sometimes serious, sometimes a little goofy, but always interesting. Listen live at hockeyprimetime.com, 5 p.m. Eastern every Saturday. Creativity and innovation are the hallmarks of Nova Product Design. Whether it's mechanical or industrial, cutting-edge technology and a commitment to excellence make Nova Product Design the company to choose. Prototypes and beta units are a Nova Product Design specialty. Striving for revolutionary new ideas and methods keep Nova Product Design at the forefront of innovation. Visit novaproductdesign.com and learn more. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Being on the World Wide Web is great. Being found is the tricky part. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization is the only way your business can get a leg up on the competition. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. For the necessary tools to make your business stand out in a crowded marketplace, 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now it's even easier to nominate your dog as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day. We do it every Saturday. Send us a photo on Twitter or now on Instagram with the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. We choose a winner every Saturday. That's simple. Now on Instagram or Twitter, send us the photo using the hashtag HU Dog of the Day, and your dog could be the one added to our gallery on the website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday.
Welcome back. This is Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, Sunday edition. Here Saturdays and Sundays, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, streaming live at hockeyunfiltered.com and on the Hockey Unfiltered app. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, Twitter and Instagram handles to follow us. Jason Mackey talking Pittsburgh Penguins and Stephen Laidlaw with the Fantasy 5, hashtag Fantasy 5, all coming up before the top of the hour. The Minnesota Wild split a weekend series with division rival the Nashville Predators. Dane Mizutani covers the Wild for the Pioneer Press. Follow him on Twitter at Dane Mizutani, and he joins us now. Dane, I guess it's not an unreasonable expectation that Minnesota and Nashville would wind up splitting this series with each team winning at home. But as we're reaching the midpoint of the season, there's got to be a little bit of a frustrated feeling too, because Minnesota still wants to make up some ground and climb a little bit in that Central Division, and that's tough.
Yeah, I think so, and I think the players last night kind of alluded to that. It felt like there was kind of a missed opportunity left on the table there. Obviously, splitting with Nashville, who very well might be one of the best teams in the Western Conference, certainly one of the best teams in the Central Division, isn't something that they're going to feel bad about splitting, because they very well could have lost both games. But I think after you win that first one on Friday, you want to come back and win that second one just to kind of continue to build the ground, because really, after losing last night, it's just a wash, basically. They didn't lose any ground. They didn't make up any ground. So I think there is some frustration, like you said. But you look at this week as a whole, coming back from the holiday break, they had 3 tough games in the Central Division, one against Dallas, and then obviously the back-to-back against Nashville. So the fact that they're coming away from that 2-1-0, I think they feel pretty good about that. 4 points out of the possible 6 this week. Bruce Boudreau always talks about winning the week, and they won. It's on the way. So Zach Parise back Tuesday.
Yeah, and if you win more games in a week than you lose, that usually winds up to be pretty good math. And I agree with your point too about the game last night being there for the taking, as it was scoreless going into the third period. Right. So you think, all right, if we win a period, now we've swept the series between the two teams. Now we're really feeling good about ourselves as we head into 2018. But then that darn Scott Hartnell winds up scoring a goal early on, and it seemed the momentum shifted from the game over to the Nashville Predators at that point.
Yeah, I think that game last night, like you said, tied going in the third. First goal basically wins. I think you saw the win kind of get out of the Wild trail after that. And that's kind of to be expected. I think if it was the other way around, if the Wild caught that first goal, I think Nashville kind of just a hard-fought game, and really a hard-fought 6 periods in a 48-hour span. I mean, Friday's game was really, really intense. Lots of shots on goal, and then kind of as expected, Saturday's game a little more tight-checking, a little more, physical. Teams trying to get in each other's heads, sending a message, especially after that Friday game. I think it was just kind of the thing where whoever was scored first was going to win, just because both teams were pretty worn out after that.
Dane Mizutani is with us, covers the Minnesota Wild for the Pioneer Press. You can follow him on Twitter at Dane Mizutani. Some good news for the Minnesota Wild as well. After missing, I think it was a half a dozen games with injury, Devan Dubnyk is back in goal. Alex Stalock played last night, but Devan Dubnyk played the first half of the back-to-back with the Nashville Predators, and I know all Minnesota fans are happy that he's back in goal.
Definitely, and that was something where it sounds like he avoided what could have been a pretty serious lower body injury. Got out of the woods, like you said, only missing 6-7 games. So the Wild feel good about that. Devan Dubnyk feels good about that. Talking to him the other night before he made that start against Nashville, he said there's still some pain, but it's not anything that he can't manage, and he knows how much pain he's going to feel. So there's going to be some pain. He knows that, but it's not something where he's running the risk of re-injuring it even more. It's healed up. It's ready to go. And on Friday night, he was outstanding. 41 saves. He let in one pretty soft goal in the beginning, but managed to kind of bounce back after that, and really, really helped them win the game. I don't think, if he's not in the net, I don't know how they win that game on Friday night, because he was really good with Nashville, really pressuring over the last 2 periods. So also, as you mentioned, Alex Stalock played very, very well in relief of Devan Dubnyk. So maybe the Wild have a little two-headed monster going on here. Pretty much ever since Dubnyk's been in town, he's had to play 60, 65 games a year. So if we can keep him in the 50 to 55 range with Alex Stalock playing well, that's only going to bode better for the Wild down the road.
Now, the Minnesota Wild are one of the teams in the NHL that have really been hammered by injuries this year. Zach Parise, I know, is getting closer. Is there an indication of when he might be able to get going for Minnesota?
Yeah, it sounds like Tuesday. Tuesday against the Panthers. I think as long as things go according to plan tomorrow, while they're off today, but they practice tomorrow at home. And it sounds like Zach Parise and actually Nino Niederreiter, who's missed the last 4 games with a lower body injury as well. Both guys will be on the ice on Monday, and it sounds like, from what I'm hearing, that they both should be able to go Tuesday. So if not Tuesday, certainly sometime next week, barring any setbacks. So you mentioned the fact that they've been through tons of injuries this year. And yes, they've been one of the teams in the NHL just ravaged by injuries. They haven't had a full roster this whole season. So the fact that they're clinging on to a playoff spot in the wild card right now, they have to be feeling pretty good about that because they haven't played with their full team yet. So we'll see how much of an impact Zach Parise can make right away. I think it'll take him a while to get his legs going. Obviously hasn't played at all this year. His conditioning, while he's in very, very good shape, obviously, I think it could take a while for him to get his legs during an actual game. Same goes with the skills, catching pucks, catching passes, things like that. But I think you will see it start to come back very, very progressively. And if they can get Zach Parise at 100%, the Wild could do some pretty special things in the second half, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. That's good news about Nino Niederreiter as well. I wasn't sure he was going to be able to get back as quickly as that. But it's the thing about Minnesota is they've had guys who have chipped in and contributed a little bit here and there while some of these guys have been going through their injury difficulties. Michael Granlund had 3 the other night. Jason Zucker was on that hot streak for a while. Even Chris Stewart early on in the season. They've had some players that have been able to chip in and help get a few victories to help the Wild keep moving along this season.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's something Chuck Fletcher and Bruce Boudreau talked a lot about going into this season. Talked a lot about the forward depth. And while I haven't necessarily seen that at a consistent basis, you mentioned all those names. It's been few and far between that all the names that you mentioned have been going at the same time. But the fact that they can get contributions from, like you said, a Chris Stewart or a Jason Zucker, or even Tyler Ennis has been playing a lot better lately. Yeah. That helps when they have these injury concerns. It's still been, I don't know if Bruce Boudreau would even say he's had a game this year where everyone was firing on all cylinders. And I think that's something the Wild are working towards still. But the fact that the depth is finally starting to show, I think is a good sign for them.
It's got to be tough for the coaching staff and for everyone to be patient while they're going through this difficulty. Here's how bad the injury thing got with Minnesota too. Is Bruce Boudreau got clipped on the bench a couple of nights ago with a puck that flew, and he had to leave for a little while for repairs. He was fine and everything, but I bet that the smart comments were flying pretty good for Gabby.
Yeah, he was funny afterwards. He said, he's not in concussion protocol. He's all good. He said he probably wouldn't have got hit, but Chris Stewart ducked on the bench. So maybe Chris will have on Monday. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, good news for the Wild. Obviously, it could have been a much worse scene. But Boudreau was rocking a large bandage on top of his head after that game. He was still his usual happy self, especially considering they won that game. So just all around. Could have been a lot worse. Good to see that he's okay. But yeah, I think you'll look back on that at the end of the year, and because he's okay, it'll be something to laugh about.
And good for him for using it in that sense. He's fine. There's nothing serious. It's just it happens. Rarely happens, but it does occasionally with someone on the bench who gets clipped, and he can have some fun with it and joke around and keep the team a little bit loose. By the way, I want you to mention as well Matt Dumba and the play that he's been putting up for the Minnesota Wild. He's been terrific this year. He just seems to be evolving, and I think there's still a little room further for improvement. He's been terrific on the blue line for Minnesota.
Yeah, he's as polarizing as it gets. I mean, there's a lot of players on that team, or fans of the Wild that can't stand the guy because he's taking too many chances, he's tension up too much. But then he'll do things like the other night where he on the point, cuts back across the green to the middle and fires just an unblockable shot at this point for goal. I mean, he's so offensively gifted, and that's obviously why the Wild, Chuck Fletcher, Brent Flair, Bruce Boudreau, they worked so hard to keep him this summer in the expansion draft because they know the potential he has offensively as a defenseman. You're starting to see that come to fruition with him. He does need to get better and just working to stay responsible on the back end. I mean, he still takes in too many chances. But we were talking to Bruce before the holiday break, and he said they can't stifle him. So they can't tell Matt Dumba to not take chances because that's such a big part of his game. So it's just a matter of him finding that balance. And I think that comes with age. You kind of forget he's still in his very, very early 20s. And he's been around for 4 or 5 years now. So he's a guy that has a lot of room to grow, and I think you're starting to see it this year, finally.
Yeah. Yeah, little discretion, little judgment. He'll be just fine. Dane Mizutani covering the Wild for the Pioneer Press. At Dane Mizutani is how you follow him on Twitter. Happy New Year, Dane. Appreciate the time as always, and hopefully we'll talk again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dane Mizutani covering the Minnesota Wild. Yeah, they're hanging in. They're hanging in, and there's still some room for growth, and they get the full line. Zach Parise comes back this week. If Nina Ryder can come back as well, those will all be good news things for the Minnesota Wild. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, Twitter and Instagram handles. Before the top of the hour, Stephen Laidlaw, the managing editor of DobberHockey.com, with this week's Fantasy 5, hashtag Fantasy 5, and Jason Mackey coming up as well from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. We'll talk about the Pens and their matchup against the Detroit Red Wings coming up later on this evening. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis back after the break.
Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now it's even easier to nominate your dog as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day. We do it every Saturday. Send us a photo on Twitter or now on Instagram with the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. We choose a winner every Saturday. That's simple. Now on Instagram or Twitter, send us the photo using the hashtag HU Dog of the Day, and your dog could be the one added to our gallery on the website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday. Cutting-edge design for manufacturing, Nova Product Design. Industrial design, mechanical engineering and design. Nova Product Design provides experienced design for parts and assemblies, manufacturing, assembly, and serviceability. From plastic parts to sheet metal forming, mold and tool design, injection molding, and more. Nova Product Design. Visit novaproductdesign.com to learn more. So you had to get groceries, take your daughter to dance class, and a pipe burst in the kitchen. You missed Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. No problem. All of our shows are available as a podcast right after the show airs, so you can listen when life gets in the way of hearing us live. Subscribe through iTunes and get alerts as soon as the podcast is available, or go to our website, hockeyunfiltered.com, and listen. Plus, check out the other cool stuff. The Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis podcast. Subscribe now through iTunes.
Welcome back. This is Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. It's the Sunday edition here every Saturday and Sunday, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles. We're streaming live at hockeyunfiltered.com and on the Hockey Unfiltered app. Download it now for free at the App Store. Having a little difficulty connecting with Jason Mackey. The Pens are just coming off the ice from their skate, and I'm not sure that it's going to work out time-wise for them. But the Pittsburgh Penguins will be in Detroit to take on the Red Wings a little bit later on. It is one of 8 on the schedule for New Year's Day as we wrap up the year 2017. Toronto Maple Leafs, Vegas Golden Knights get it going in the afternoon with a 3:30 p.m. Eastern time start. Breaking news, the Toronto Maple Leafs are staying at a hotel that is not on the Vegas Strip. Apparently, that's a story. Oh, yeah, people they're got to make a story, put it up on the website, make a tweet about it, put it out. It's a big story. Okay, because there's no place outside of the Strip where you can have any fun in Las Vegas, as I understand. Nope. So they're staying far away from it. No, there's no possible way those players could get out and have any fun in Las Vegas. All right, whatever. Arizona's at Anaheim, 4 p.m. Eastern start. Tampa Bay, Columbus, 6 p.m. Eastern. Winnipeg is at Edmonton at 7. San Jose at Dallas. That'll be a good matchup. 8 p.m. Eastern time. Islanders in Colorado to take on the Avalanche at 8. Chicago and Calgary is a 9 p.m. Eastern time start. And as I mentioned, it's the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Detroit Red Wings at 7 Eastern. The lineup announcement earlier from the Detroit Red Wings that Anthony Mantha will miss the game tonight. Could be back on Wednesday for the Detroit Red Wings. Didn't catch exactly what the problem is that's going to keep Anthony Mantha out of the lineup for the Detroit Red Wings. I don't know. How soon does the after Christmas sale sign go up for the Detroit Red Wings? There's a team that certainly has got to be considering, well, what are we going to do here sitting at 14, 16, and 7, and only the Ottawa Senators and the Buffalo Sabres below us in the Eastern Conference standings. Maybe what we've been doing hasn't been working as well as we had hoped. Maybe we do have to start turning over some of this roster. Maybe this is something that needs to happen. It should have happened already. Too many players that are on lengthy contracts that can't play in the current system of the National Hockey League and the way it works. This is a team that does things the same way as they have for many years. Talked about this in the first hour on our quarterly reports from all the 31 teams in the National Hockey League. This is a team that needs to turn over its roster, to make some changes, to get things moving in the right direction. And there's questions about the Pittsburgh Penguins, too, who at the midpoint find themselves on the outside of the playoff picture. 39 games played heading into today, a 19-17-3 record for the Pittsburgh Penguins. This is the two-time defending Stanley Cup champion team. This is not what was expected of the Pittsburgh Penguins. Oh, sure, at first, well, they're off to kind of a slow start. Not really sure whether it's they played a lot of games going to the Stanley Cup final and winning the last 2 years. Maybe they've played a lot of hockey. Maybe that's the story. Maybe that's the issue. What's the real problem with the Pittsburgh Penguins. And then they go deeper into the year, and it's thought, yeah, there have been some changes in the roster and some player turnover. Part of it is out of necessity. You're not going to be able to keep all the players that you have on your roster. Some of them you don't want to keep. But the goaltending situation we knew was going to change. Marc-Andre Fleury was going to move on. He's wound up in Vegas. Chris Kunitz has moved to Tampa. And other players have moved on as well. Nick Medino is now a member of the Nashville Predators. But it's some of the other moves that I've found a little bit curious about the Pittsburgh Penguins. Ryan Reeves, the deal that was made with the St. Louis Blues, and Jim Rutherford was lauded for saying, "Oh, look, we got Ryan Reeves, got a big physical presence. He's gonna go out there and he's gonna keep things in order to allow Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin, and other players to do their thing," because that was a bit of an issue as they saw it. But that's not the Penguins' game, is to have that big, lumbering, physically imposing type of style. They're a speed team. They're a skill team. Jamie Oleksiak was brought in. He's a big, tall, physical player that was a member of the Dallas Stars and is now a member of the Pittsburgh Penguins. Is that the right type of player? Is that what the Pittsburgh Penguins are needing? Last couple of years, as they've gone on and won Stanley Cups, they've brought in skill players, offensive players, young players from Wilkes-Barre. Jake Gensel, Connor Sheary, Brandon Rust. Those are the types of players that have come into their lineup to play a speed and skill game. But now we've seen kind of a shift for the Pittsburgh Penguins, and I don't know if it's in the right direction. Yeah, they've had some injuries that they've had to deal with on defense. Matt Murray missed some time. There was the whole Antti Niemi debacle at the start of the season that they quickly moved on from and realized that they needed a better backup goaltender. Tristan Jarry seems to be providing that, so that's okay. That's been dealt with. but there still seems to be something that's not right about the Pittsburgh Penguins. And part of it has got to be fatigue. I get that. But now in the last week or so, there has been talk of perhaps more change coming for the Pittsburgh Penguins. And the name being thrown around over the last few days as suggestion may be available for trade is Chris Letang, defenseman Chris Letang, who missed an enormous portion of last year, and the Pens still went on and won the Stanley Cup. And that's why some are speculating that perhaps Chris Letang is expendable. They won the Stanley Cup last year without him, so maybe if they trade him and trade his big contract, that will free up a little bit of cap space, and there might be other opportunities, there might be other options for the Pittsburgh Penguins and their roster moving forward. Now, that sounds reasonable, like a reasonable idea, but you'll move the salary off if you can, but it's $7+ million a season, and there's 4 more seasons to go for Chris Letang. And what kind of a return are you hoping for and are you expecting for Chris Letang? When he's healthy, and that's the important part of the phrase, when he's healthy, he can be a vital part of any offense, an elite, skilled player, great skater, can move the puck out of trouble when he's in your own end, can skate it up to the other end of the ice and then shoot or dish it off for a scoring opportunity all at once. That's what you get with Chris Letang when he's healthy. And I mentioned that he missed so much of last season. The Pens went on and had to win the Stanley Cup without him. They did. But wouldn't their job have maybe been a little bit easier if they did have Chris Letang in the lineup? But can he stay in the lineup on a consistent basis? And because of that question, what is going to be a reasonable expectation of return should you think about entertaining offers for an elite, skilled defenseman? He is physical in the sense that he plays with reckless abandon at times, and I think that has worked against him in terms of injuries. But that's the way Chris Letang plays. I don't think you're going to change it at this point. He brings a lot to the team. I don't know what you will get back in return. And if you think that cap space is the commodity you're looking for, then maybe the player or players or draft choices that you get back in a trade for Chris Letang is worth sacrificing because of the increased cap space that you'll get. I'm not so sure that it is. I'm not sure what you're going to get back is going to be worth trading a Chris Letang, if that is something that the Pittsburgh Penguins are considering. I was pleased to hear that the Pittsburgh Penguins did call up Daniel Sprong, who had been lighting it up in the American Hockey League. Maybe this is something that they're looking for. Maybe this is something that they need. It's worked in the past couple of seasons. Calling up players, younger players who are full of enthusiasm and anxious to make a mark and stay in the National Hockey League. They have fit into the lineup. Mike Sullivan's familiar with them. They adapt to the system that is played, and he understands them and what they bring, and allows them at times to make mistakes. And maybe that's as much as anything what we need to look at from some other teams. As the league evolves to a speed, skill league, and younger players are playing a larger role, young players still come into the National Hockey League and make mistakes. But it's going to be coaches who understand that and understand their roster, that you need younger players, because of their lower salaries, and you're going to have to understand that they will make mistakes. You can obviously pass a threshold of where you make too many mistakes, but you have to be able to put them in situations to succeed. A great example of it, and not everybody has the talent to be able to do it, is the Tampa Bay Lightning with Mikhail Sergachev. Young, rookie defenseman, loaded with talent. It was a question at the start of the season whether or not he would last the year, whether or not he would last halfway, whether or not he would even last the 9 games you're allowed with a rookie before you have to send them down. He's clearly staying on their roster, but the Lightning have understood as a young defenseman, he is still going to make mistakes. He showed great poise and talent beyond his years, but he is still going to make mistakes, but they're trying to maximize the situations that they put him in. They don't want to put him in a situation where he's vulnerable and something that's a little beyond what he's capable of right away. Managing his minutes, managing the circumstances that he is on the ice. And that's what other teams can look at and learn from. You need young players. You need young, talented, skilled, fast, and quick players. But you have to manage the circumstances that they're out on the ice as best you can. Otherwise, you're going to end up with an old roster that's not really capable of competing at an elite level. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles. We'll take the quick break. We'll lead up to the final segment of 2017 with our friend Stephen Laidlaw, the managing editor of DobberHockey.com, with this week's Fantasy 5, hashtag Fantasy 5. A little help for you in your fantasy hockey pool. One more segment to go. Back with more after the break.
So you had to get groceries, take your daughter to dance class, and a pipe burst in the kitchen. You missed Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. The problem? All of our shows are available as a podcast right after the show airs, so you can listen when life gets in the way of hearing us live. Subscribe through iTunes and get alerts as soon as the podcast is available, or go to our website, hockeyunfiltered.com, and listen. Plus, check out the other cool stuff, the Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis podcast. Subscribe now through iTunes. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Nova Product Design is designed for manufacturing. Nova Product Design can get the job done with mechanical and industrial design. Nova Product Design is also fully functional for laser cutting, water jet cutting, plating, coatings, and more. Nova Product Design, innovative design, and the latest technologies. Nova Product Design can design, build, and test any required types of prototypes and beta units. Visit NovaProductDesign.com. We're looking for your Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day nominations every Saturday. Now you can send them through Instagram. Use the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. Send us a photo of your dog on Twitter or Instagram to nominate them as the HU Dog of the Day. Include your name, the dog's name, and any other cool details you want. We choose a winner and add them to the Dog of the Day gallery on our website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday. Hashtag HU Dog of the Day.
This is Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, the Sunday edition, here every Saturday and Sunday, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, streaming live at hockeyunfiltered.com and on the Hockey Unfiltered app, powered by Primetime Radio, at Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles. It's that time. For the final time in 2017, the managing editor of DobberHockey.com is Stephen Laidlaw. He's here every week with the Fantasy 5, hashtag Fantasy 5. Help for you in your fantasy hockey pool. A couple of players to keep in mind. Maybe you can get them on waivers. Maybe you can get them in a deal. But Steve has the names for you, and he joins us now. You should follow him on Twitter, at Steve Laidlaw. How are you, Steve? Happy New Year. All set to celebrate and get ready for a brand new year?
Absolutely. You know, it's 2017 was fun, but I've had my fill of it. Good riddance. Happy New Year. Moving on to the next one.
Good for you. Well, good for you. Always ready to look forward. Let's get into this week's Fantasy 5, hashtag Fantasy 5. Name number one on the list. A good example of a player who's not on a great team, but can accumulate some points for you, and that would be Mikko Rantanen.
Yeah, I mean, he's exploded on the top line for the Colorado Avalanche. You know, he's darn near a point per game. He's clicking alongside Nathan McKinnon. That chemistry goes back to
the end of last season when they started flashing real potential. You know, he's a former lottery pick, so the talent's always been there. I just think that people are overlooking the fact that he's playing on an elite line with an elite player, and he's a very talented player himself. One cute little stat about him, he leads the league in power play ice time per game. So, I mean, with that kind of opportunity, you shouldn't be passing him up in your pool.
Name number 2, also a member of the Colorado Avalanche, and where injury is, there is opportunity, and that for Erik Johnson on defense.
Yeah, I mean, you know, he's a former number 1 overall pick, so the talent's always been there, but certainly he's not as dynamic as Tyson Barrie in terms of a power play quarterback, but he's got a big time shot. He can thump the puck towards the net. He's probably going to challenge for 10 goals this year, whether he's on the top power play unit or not. He's going to pile up big shot totals. But, you know, for the next 4 to 6 weeks, while we wait for Barrie to return, he's going to be getting that top power play ice time. Could be scoring at a 40 to 50 point pace over that stretch. I think it's a really good spot for him. Get him into your lineup. He's a multi-category hero, so, you know, if you count hits, blocks, that sort of thing, then he's going to be really valuable for you.
Love those multiple categories. Name number 3 on Stephen Laidlaw's Fantasy 5 for this week, hashtag Fantasy 5, is Danton Heinen of the Boston Bruins, who is providing some nice scoring for this team.
Yeah, I mean, the Bruins' secondary scoring has absolutely taken off over the past month. Heinen's got 14 points in 14 games in December, heading into the new year with tons of momentum. I don't usually love second line, second power play type options, but certainly you can't disregard what Heinen has been able to do in a secondary role. So certainly while he's hot, utilize him, and then when he cools off, you move on to another hot option.
The name number 4 on this week is an interesting one. Actually, I've had this player for some time and been reaping the benefits, and that is Alex DeBrincat of the Chicago Blackhawks.
He's been a really effective secondary scorer for the Blackhawks while seeing minimal minutes and almost next to no top unit power play time. But recently we saw Artem Anisimov get put on the IR. And it's been DeBrincat who has stepped up into his spot on the top power play unit. So increased role, already a very talented scorer. That's the mix that's going to really lead to explosive results for you. So I think I think most folks kind of been looking at him. Should I jump on him? Should I jump on him? Well, now's the time where he should go off. He's got points in the last 2 games since Anissimov's been out. I think he's in a very good spot to score maybe at a point per game while Anissimov's on the shelf.
And the final member of Steve's Fantasy 5 for this week and for 2017, Daniel Sprong, the call-up of the Pittsburgh Penguins. I took your advice and I scooped him up. So my fingers are crossed that he is, as you hoped, will be a big producer for the Pittsburgh Penguins moving forward.
I mean, certainly this is a swing for the fences type addition. The Penguins have really been struggling at 5-on-5, mostly just percentage based. So, I mean, we can talk about whether they're getting enough high danger chances at 5-on-5 or not, but certainly the percentages haven't been in their favor, and maybe that's revenge for them winning back-to-back cups. But certainly they've got superstar talent, and Sprong has been able to score a point per game as a 20-year-old in the AHL. He's bringing that talent to come and hopefully flourish alongside maybe Crosby, maybe Malkin, maybe some secondary power play time. It could be a very good spot. We've seen guys of his ilk succeed in these spots before. Jake Gensel, Connor Sheary, those guys are still around, but add one more talented winger to the mix on a team loaded at center.
Look forward to perhaps, fingers crossed, reaping the benefits of Daniel Sprong. That's Stephen Laidlaw, the managing editor of DobberHockey.com, with this week's Fantasy 5, hashtag Fantasy 5. Follow him on Twitter, at Steve Laidlaw. Steve, as always, thank you for this. Thank you for all that you've done for us over the past calendar year. We look forward to flipping over and enjoying the rest of 2018 together. Thanks, and have a happy new year.
Absolutely, Todd. And if I could just ask one thing from folks, pick up our mid-season guide coming out early January, January 12th-ish. $10 should help you win your pool going forward in the second half.
Absolutely. Appreciate that, Steve. We'll mention it again in the coming weeks as well. Steve Laidlaw with a little extra info on the bonus there. Here's the names on the Fantasy 5 one more time real quick if you missed any of them. Mikko Rantanen and Eric Johnson of the Colorado Avalanche, Danton Heinen of the Boston Bruins, Alex DeBrincat of the Chicago Blackhawks, and Daniel Sprong, who will be in the lineup this evening as the Pittsburgh Penguins take on the Detroit Red Wings. If you missed any of them, we'll tweet them out at Hockey Unfiltered, be up on our Instagram account, up on our Facebook page as well. There are 8 games on the schedule, as mentioned earlier: Toronto, Vegas, Arizona, Anaheim, Tampa Bay, and the Columbus Blue Jackets, Winnipeg and Edmonton, Pittsburgh, Detroit, the Islanders, and Colorado. Little lineup information on that one. Sebastian Aho is in. Beauvillier and Quine are also in. Yaroslav Halak is going to start in goal for the New York Islanders in that one. San Jose and Dallas, an 8 p.m. Eastern start, and the Chicago Blackhawks and the Calgary Flames are the latest start. That is a 9 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. local time. We're coming to the close of 2017, a few hours left in this year. This has been, I mentioned at the top of the show, I always like to look forward and don't like to reflect too much, but just a little bit. When you look back, but think of it in the sense of the opportunities and the possibilities going forward, whether it's been good, bad, or at times been disappointing. And I think everybody has experienced a little bit of each of those this season. It's been another year of having a real great privilege of getting to do a lot of things that I really enjoy, including this program. We started almost 7 seasons ago. In some ways, this show resembles the original, and in other ways, it's really different. Our executive producer, Sam, has been there from the beginning. We've endured a whole bunch of highs and lows, and it's been a fun ride, and I look forward to flipping over to 2018 and continuing it together. Our show producer, guest booker, social media genius, and doer of a whole bunch of other things, Chelsea, arrived a little bit later on in the process, but she's been an instrumental part of our growth and success as well, bringing great ideas, great suggestions, and thank you. We appreciate it. On behalf of all of us, I want to thank you that continue to listen and support us. We want both serious and fun hockey talk. We dive into teams, players, business, executives, and anything else that we think we can have some fun with or is a serious issue worth talking about. And we appreciate and thank you for your loyalty and support. Our approach has been open and honest talk about all topics that involve the NHL and, quite frankly, anything else in life that's important as well, because there's a lot more to life than just hockey. For too long, we had to endure too much pablum hockey talk, and there's still too much of it. People who can't or won't present an idea or opinion for fear of reprisal, well, you can do that here. At times we're critical, but at other times I think we're really generous with our praise of things that we like and things that we enjoy. We offer criticism, but come with an explanation and come with suggestions of ideas for a solution or way to fix or help a problem. We try to avoid bitching about stuff. I will continue to highlight manufactured controversies, a phrase that I've become to really stick with me. Clickbait headlines make me crazy. Stories that simply agitate hockey fans unnecessarily. Over the years, we've been asked to be a little less forthright and a little less blunt and honest in our assessments. That mostly by the folks at Sirius XM. I have been given royal crap about saying something that someone, an executive, didn't care for. But in each instance, I expressed an honest opinion, and I never said anything factually incorrect, and I believe it was a topic worth discussing. Something we encourage. We want differing opinions. We like differing ideas. We like where it takes us, and we think that's where there's real growth, and that's where real learning take place. So here's to 2017, and here's to 2018. We're looking forward to another great year. Let's all approach the next year with a bit of optimism, a bit of kindness, a bit of generosity, and if we do that, it'll be magnificent and wonderful for all of us. So for all of us from Hockey Unfiltered, thanks for listening. Happy and safe 2018. Back with you next week.
Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Look, we know it happens. Life gets in the way and sometimes you can't catch the live edition of Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. But we've made it easy for you to catch up on the show you might have missed. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis is available as a podcast on iTunes, iHeartRadio, and Blog Talk Radio. You don't want to miss an episode. If you missed the live show, check out the podcast. Don't miss any shows. There's a test coming up later. Subscribe now. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Use the code Get the Savings. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis listeners save with Seat Giant and the promo code TODD. That's TODD at SeatGiant.com. Just log on to SeatGiant.com to find the best tickets to NHL games, concerts, or whatever you want and save. Use the promo code TODD. That's TODD when you check out and you save. Canadian listeners can save at SeatGiant.ca. That's SeatGiant.com and .ca. Cutting-edge design for manufacturing, Nova Product Design. Industrial design, mechanical engineering and design. Nova Product Design provides experienced design for parts and assemblies, manufacturing, assembly, and serviceability. From plastic parts to sheet metal forming, mold and tool design, injection molding, and more. Nova Product Design. Visit novaproductdesign.com to learn more.